what I can understand from the abandoned sewers conclusion is that that's going to leave me with a number of choices. First of all, 23, which has been added here, I can just keep walking. That works fine. Other options that I have is if I can breathe water. 14 and 43. 14 I've already done. 14 is where you go meet the, I can't remember what the hell she is, but the bitch who gives you magic power, the power of enchantment, whatever thing. 43 is the Drake's Nest for some reason. Whenever you need water, that gives you that. Now, 14 opened that up to me before. This is the first time I think that I've got a reason to actually go there, which was why I didn't go there before. Was I wasn't sure whether or not I should be allowed to. And then the final one is 26, which is going down through the cistern. I'm left with kind of the, I probably want to pursue one of these. I don't know what my other options are that are still out there, but they didn't really intrigue me. And remember, I'm kind of cheating here, but I'm not forcing myself to do a road action. I think I'm cheating, I'm not sure. I'm not taking a road action if I'm staying within the Gloomhaven city. Makes life a little easier on me. I don't have a whole hell of a lot I can do with my characters. I have some cash, so if I want to boost, because actually, the multiplier went up. If I want to boost stats on the cards or something like that, I can do that, which is exceptionally good because if my character gets knocked out, like if my character meets his retirement options, that means that I've got a better version of that character available to the new guy as well. Of course, I want to explode the characters, so that's not going to happen, I don't think I'm going to go through them all anyway. Anyhow, that's about all I can get done today on this. I have not figured out what adventure I'm going to go through. I kind of like the idea of getting the water breathing thing rather than traipsing through the other path, but that's just, I don't think it makes a difference, basically. So here's the thing. I could... This is Link's Gloomhaven. Okay, Link's Gloomhaven means exactly what I think it does. If I'm in Gloomhaven, I don't have to take a road action. Which means it doesn't matter that this other one links there. If I want to go to the Drake's Nest, though, wherever the hell that is, and I don't know where it was, but it's on the board somewhere up here, I do have to travel for that. And so it might make more sense for me to do the Gloomhaven ones going through. For whatever reason, I wanted to look at why Gloomhaven is so highly rated, right? Obviously, it has a lot of love, that's fine. There's always been a cult of the new facet to BGG, and I think there are a number of factors that play into that automatically create it. But I saw a very disturbing trend, not just for Gloomhaven, for the entire top of the list. The ratings have gotten higher. In the case of Gloomhaven, fully half the people who have rated it at 10. Now, that means they're essentially always willing to play it, basically. I mean, if they're able to play a game, they're willing to play this, no matter what. And this is kind of strange. I mean, you look at the sort of top games, that were here before, that have slowly gotten pushed down the stack, and those games were probably about as popular as this is, right? They were probably about as well loved. But, so what I think is actually happening in the case of the ratings that are coming out now is that people are incentivized by their own emotional state of, I love this game, to increase their rating to try to increase its positioning. You saw this at certain times. People would, who really liked, Puerto Rico or Twilight Struggle or Agricola or whatever, would try to push its rating up and compete you know, and they would increase their own values and maybe throw in a shill negative vote on the game that they see competing with it on the list or whatever. I always thought that was a small segment of the population, though. And what it means is that the ratings are becoming pointless. You know, I mean, look, it's fine in terms of rating the very popular games of the last year or two or whatever. But I would actually discount everything in the last 3 or 4 years because it's very obvious that those ratings have been inflated in a way that probably isn't just a cult of the new. I want to play this game. It's not like people are going back and saying, I don't feel like playing Puerto Rico quite as much. I'll drop my rating by a point. No, it's, oh man, I never want to play Puerto Rico. I always want to play Gloomhaven, or whatever. And that's following the guidance for ratings on Board Game Geek. If you're using more my kind of ratings, you get a different distribution of ratings across the board, which is you're kind of saying, well, how good a game is this? Is what you're choosing. I think some people still do that, other than me, do that. I assume people have all kinds of different ratings, but I would say those are kind of probably the two most likely things that people follow. So, always going to play it. Well, you'd think there's a very small segment. Basically, I'm always willing to play this game. You'd think people have maybe very few games that they could ever say that about. And I kind of do the same because with my rating scale, I actually use a bell curve for my scale, and it slides a little to the right, which I'm a little unhappy with, but the reason for that is I like games, and so my average of games is at 6. I mean, it should be at 5.5. Mine is a little around 6. That's where my mean or my median is. My mean is probably right about there too. But what that means is that you have a tail end of very few games that I can rate a 10 to. And I think what you've got here is probably people who are just, like, yep, this is what I want to, this is what I want to be number one. And that's why they're rating it, which is, there's a number of effects to that, which is like, for example, the value, the next big thing that comes out, it'll have to overcome the value that Gloomhaven already has built up, right? So if something wants to beat Gloomhaven, it's got to have more than half its ratings be 10s. And this is just ridiculous because people like me who, are rating things on a more honest basis, we're not involved in this game at all. The game, except that, we're basically negative votes against this game because, like an 8 is a negative vote against this game because it's got an average of 9. It seriously does, and there's a real problem with that. And it's clearly it's just the nature of humans, I guess. But I find it almost sick that people are so. I don't know how to put it, so invested emotionally in this game being the number one game. You figure if anybody feels that way, though, that probably does deserve a 10, if you think it's the number one game of all games and you're willing to step up for that, yeah, I guess you do deserve to give it a 10, right? And the fact that half the people who've played it, 11,000 people, to me that's just crazy. Over what I could do in Gloomhaven money-wise. I don't see any items I want to buy right now. I'm going to draw the city card. I don't have quite enough cash on anybody to do any big boosts to cards. I'm going to hold on to my money and do that. I might end up going to the temple. Hey, that opens up another box. But right now, we're going to draw a city card and see what we get. One of the problems, I thought about getting the skull ring for her, because this minor magic potion maybe not that valuable. And the problem is, well, recharging this isn't bad either, so it's not like the skull ring is necessarily better to recharge, and it's a very expensive item for her. Okay. After resting for the evening, you start out your day noticing a great number of prominent, commanding posters around the city. Reading one, you learn that the Sanctuary of the Great Oak is laying down the foundation for a new building on the east side of Gloomhaven. Everybody is encouraged to come and help. This can be an important community event. You can go help lay the foundation or take the opportunity to steal. Yeah, we're gonna help. What the fuck, man? Ah! Alright. I can see we've got some pain here, but it's good overall. Amidst a great deal of revelry, you put all you have into laying the foundation. Surely much good will be done for healing the sick and wounded. After all your exhaustive efforts, though, you end up being their first patients. Everybody would lose a check mark. Nobody's got a spare check mark. We kind of got cool there, and then we gain a reputation and a prosperity for the team, and this card will go away. That's cool. Definitely a good choice there. Otherwise, we would have gotten some money, you know. Number of reasons, including the fact that, hey, if we fill up, I think it's in here, yeah, it's actually in the rule book. If we fill up that chart of all the temple things, we get some kind of thing we get to open up that gives us something. I don't know what. In this case, I'm a little worried about this one, so I grabbed a bunch of 2 times multipliers. I've got everybody blessed. I'm going to have to go on the road. This is the setup, but we're not there yet. Well, see, here's the thing. We're halfway there because, oh, you think I should help you breathe underwater? How adorable. We had this already. Hale stares at you with an exasperated look. I mean, who do you think I am? Where would I even begin? She turns him against pace. I need Drake scales, of course, something to filter out the air of water, and if you consider the water's separate elemental properties. She goes and disappears in the process. We get the map. And of course, I set up all the terrain, but not the monsters, because the monsters can't actually be set up initially, but I do find it a little easier to get all this out of the way. You're used to her behavior by now and wait patiently for her return. It takes an hour. Okay, yes, you've intrigued me. I accept your proposal. Bring me some drake scales and I'll see what I can do. I know of a great drake nest on the northern border of the Dagger Forest. I draw you a map. The map's not great, but it gets you there. A distinct hissing emanating from within. Hale wants you to gather as many scales as you can carry. It's time to get a slaughter. This reminds me of the old D&D scenarios that I played when I was a kid, you know, where you really didn't need a story or anything like that. And of course, by the time I started playing things where I was a little more worried about story and interaction and all kind of stuff like that, honestly, D&D was long behind. So I always kind of associate D&D with that because a lot of the D&D players play kind of that way. Maybe this is good enough for them. Anyway, let's get our road event because it's a potential penalty, and then we'll figure out what we're doing in terms of what cards we need and everything. And I do enter the dungeons with a little extra knowledge, more than I think I should have, which is, hey, I know there are, you know, stun traps here, and that's what those are, and I just don't have enough stun markers to cover them all, so I'll wait, because there might be some stunning going on, and some boulders and stuff, which means Craghart may take his cards that use that. I think I took them anyway in the last one. You see fresh wagon tracks in the dirt as you walk along the road. Did we do this before? Maybe I did this in my other game. You continue forward and begin to pick out a number of distinct tracks. They must be from a large caravan. Sure enough, as you crest a hill, you see a group of 4 wagons headed down the hill in the same direction as you. You count perhaps 3 or 4 guards among them. You can approach them and offer to travel with them until your paths diverge, or attack them. Well, obviously, I'm not a bad guy. I'm gonna offer to help. We're just nice folks. Okay. The merchants in the caravan seem grateful, although the guards eye you skeptically. After traveling a full half day without event, they head off down a side road and wave goodbye. The merchants express their appreciation with a bit of coin. 2 gold each. Reputation greater than 9, which we have. We get an additional gold, so we each get 3 gold. Hey, that's pretty cool. And then this card is gone. Oh, what did I do with my city card? Oh, there it is. They both have torn on them, which means you should destroy them, but, you know, right? All right, and now I got to do the hard work of figuring out how I'm going to deal with this scenario. I know what I'm facing in terms of monsters. I don't know exactly what they're going to do, but I got Flame Demon and a couple different types of drakes, and I'll try to figure out what those probably can do. I might even peek at the cards and see what they're special. Not the decks, but these, to see what their abilities are. I'm never sure if I should do that or not. How much should I know about the monsters I'm facing? You know, you'd think Hale could tell me about drakes, and you know, then I'd look and say, well, okay, muddle. Yeah, they can confuse me, they can wound me. Okay, that's great. Flame demons, do I know they'd be there? I've faced flame demons before. If I know that they're there, then I do know kind of what they do, although we're at a higher level now. All right. And it's time for me to go. This is on setup on this one, mainly because flame demons are fucking tough, and I know that. I've seen them before. Retaliation with range, shielding. They're just nasty shit. And in particular, one of the hard choices was how do you get through all that shielding. Now, I had a couple of people with bows who could do a lot of damage for their entire attack. However, his cards overall have started to tend towards more melee cards. That's just what I've been choosing. So basically the Spellweaver had to convince him, yeah, I can take those two demons out. I don't know if it's the case. He's saying, yeah, I can help you with that a little bit, which is involved in putting a poison on one of them. He's hoping we have some speedy actions. Turns out he's kind of lucky that the Spellweaver doesn't have something faster. Let's see what the Flame Demon's going to do. Okay, so it's probably not going to hurt anyone unless they close with it, which is not in my plans. So we'll move forward. Yeah, that didn't work. Fired off my bow and my magic potion. Poison worked. I killed one. The other one, though, only has 2 hits against it, and the one I killed was a blessing. Came out. Didn't need that. But, yeah, this -1. You know, the odds of actually killing it were pretty low. But the bonus I have is I created some blue, so it'll take another point of damage, which is kind of cool. However, it doesn't look like we're going to actually manage to wipe it out. And, of course, the skeleton is here. Pieces jumped around a bit. It's because I had a little bit of confusion. I thought I'd put the mage all the way here in the corner where she couldn't reach things. I hadn't. I had her here. I got her confused with Cragheart, so I shifted everything over because I knew that I had things correct, and then I realized, wait, I did have things correct, so I reset it to where it was, and that's where we're sitting now. This guy has taken his point of damage. He's got 3 hits against him. That's about it. It's been a few days since the last time I played, but I see I'm in a real problem here. I was really counting on killing both of these, probably mistakenly, but whatever. And now without it, that has a shield of 4 on it. And now that I've used the only bow that I have, it's going to be really, really hard to kill that. Cragheart might be able to do it. He has, some of them have some things that cause damage without being attacks, which is basically the way you can get it without that. Wounds, for example, would do that. But, is this a wound or... Oh shit, this was a wound that he did. Crap, he might have just killed it, or have done a wound to it, which would have done another point of damage. It won't be dead yet. I put this down as a fire magic because I have trouble seeing the difference. But I bet you that's a wound. It just looks like fire to me. So yeah, actually I think he wounded it, which means we're in much better shape than I thought we were, because when we came around to his turn, he would have taken a hit. And the wound doesn't go away until he heals. It's not like a one-round thing. So it's one of the things with the game. Some of the effects are multiple rounds, some are not. Now I'm going to be in trouble because there are more of those fire demons in the game, but whatever. And now I got to try to figure out what I'm going to do. But that is going to die this round. So all I kind of have to do is avoid getting hurt by it. I don't think I wounded that one, because if I had wounded that one, I would have poisoned it. And that must be the other one that I poisoned. So yeah, I've got some trouble. I got to deal with that thing, and I don't know how effective I'm going to be. It looks like I also fucked up. All these guys went first, but he actually had an attack. He didn't just take damage. Oh no, this says target all. This is a special situation because normally he has a ranged attack, but in this case, this attack would have been something that only works when he's adjacent, which is not normal for him. But he's going to be a danger no matter what. Yeah, it's hard to pick this game up, to play the way I like to play, walking away, coming back, and it's especially hard just because I no longer have the will to play it. So Craghart opens the door, finds a world of hurt. His backup plan with this card was to move and attack that critter. He ends up using his goggles to increase his chances, and he does manage to kill it. But we got 2 more of those fire demons. Now these are a little weaker. They only have shield 3 and only take 3 hits, but still, they're hard to kill. I wish I had piercing damage on some of my cards or something to guarantee that. And now the critter, well, this Rending Drake is going to go first. I don't think it's going to get very much done because it doesn't have a ranged attack. But these guys also have ranged attacks and they muddle. So they're going to be kind of a pain in the ass too. There's only 1 of them here, 2 fire demons, and 3 of these Rending Drakes. If I got my pictures right. Looks like I did. And not a lot of answer from the players. Craghart took a lot of damage. A couple of these Spitting Drakes hit him up pretty hard. He's down to 11 hits. Now, of course, 11 hits is about where the mage starts, but still, his hit points are one of the things that makes him so potent. He's the tank for this party, as you would. And I really wasn't able to do much response. The Tinkerer, his cards could have allowed him to pull something, but I couldn't get a good pull going through one of the stun traps, so that didn't seem terribly worthwhile. So instead I did what I planned, which was created the battle bot. At least I have a lot of firepower there. If they come through the door, I can start whacking them. The goal for this scenario is to kill 12 critters. I've killed 2 of them so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 more in this room. If I clear this room, I got to go through 1 more room. I don't have to open any of these other doors, I assume. So I may aim for the one because for whatever reason I know that the treasure's behind the one. That up. These were both Rending Drakes. I got to figure out where they moved. They were not the Spitting Drakes. They should not have damaged him. He probably didn't even get attacked. This one couldn't hit him. These guys I did ranged attack. I don't know why. I think I did this one correctly and not these 2, so I'm going to try to reset that and give him his hits back. The characters blew some pretty decent cards. High speed, first of all, which it turned out... Oh shit, I forgot. God damn it. I didn't see that 06. I just read it differently. Yeah. That would have gone first, and I don't know. We'll take it now. He didn't get hurt badly. He got that muddle on him, which I have to consider. But basically, the mage blasted a fire, icy blast or something like that over there, and the other 2 also did some pretty good attacks. Craghart moving in because things were so weakened here to get out of the way, and managed to kill I think 1 of those 2. And a stun over here on this one, as well as a muddle, which came from this card. Remember, those cards cause an extra draw if you don't have 2 draws coming to you, in order to diffuse that item. But a lot of strength coming in there. Now let me see what happened with this. This guy had a shield 2, which I did not apply anyway. And a heal 2, which would have happened before that hit happened, and then a strengthened self, which also is in play. So actually, this didn't do a damn bit of anything. He still got hit, just not for as much damage as he would have. And he'll keep that muddle. He's already gone. Now we go to these 2. It's really easy to fuck up when I'm not focusing well. We got a 2 times hit on one of these, which caused one of the deaths. So we're managing to pare away, some of the monsters pretty quickly here, and that's a sweet thing. Ended up being particularly important because it meant the skeleton didn't get attacked here. And what do we got elsewhere? The muddled guy, the flame demon, managed to get a shot off on the Cragheart, as did this other one. And they've brought him down a lot of hits, so he is actually pretty badly damaged again. I didn't want to burn a card on him. Healing is something that I have in my decks, so I'm okay if I can get rid of these things. The hard one to get rid of is going to be that flame demon. I don't have any redraws there, so we're ready to jump into the next turn. And oh shit, I'm so bad at keeping count here. I think I killed 2 more guys. I'm doing a countdown. Once that marker moves off the map, that's the last turn of the scenario. And we kind of blast our way through quite a few of the rest. Those 2 rending drakes are gone now. I can pack their card away until I get to or their thing away until I get to another, I don't know what to call the whole tableau that is associated with that. Decent amount of damage on this spitting drake. It's about half done. The flame demon is untouched, however, and that's problematic. It's really one of the toughest things I've got. Now, on the bright side of that, I've got a retaliate on it, but it's got ranged attacks, which means unless its ranged attack is taken away, it's not going to be hurt by the retaliate. It has its own retaliate, which is actually range 2, I think. The way this is, it's not clear, normally that might be something else, but no, range is normally covered there, so that's specific to the retaliate. Sometimes it's hard to tell, what the particular information that's trying to be conveyed is, because it's shorthanded. So that thing's going to be a problem, especially since Cragheart's really getting hurt here. He's down to 6 now. He should have been healed. The Tinker was set up to try to heal, at least to get rid of the wound. Now he's poisoned as well, and I don't know, some of the critters were in the way, and so the Tinker wasn't able to do the job he wanted to do, which means things didn't work out quite how I hoped for them to work out by the cards I played. Spellweaver's doing the trick that I like to do, which is, hey, I'm ready to go into a long rest. It's time to go invisible right next to an enemy. It tends to work really, really well. And shuffle up and get ready for the next turn. And it's break time again for me. I can handle 1 or 2 card plays, and that's usually it. Now, you've seen... I don't know if I did 2 in a row just here, or if there was a break between 2 of these. It's hard for me to remember anything, because the game's so focused on the cards rather than kind of regular turn-based things. And again, I've lost track of who I've killed. Geez, I don't know. There were 2. This is the way to find out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There were 8 total that were there, so we've killed 2 more this time. It's just really hard to remember to do that countdown thing. It's just not natural to me in the game, because most scenarios you don't have to worry about it. Alright, so the scenario's Drake's only equal to 4 times the number of characters, so actually 3 of those deaths aren't real. So we got 9 more Drakes to kill. There's only 1 on the map. We may have to go through 2 more rooms. Found Cragheart's healed of his problems, the wounding and the poison. He's down to 3 hit points. And it's going to take another healing to get him up. He's going to have a long rest coming to him. That'll help a little bit, maybe. But, I mean, he could take a short rest, but he really kind of needs a long. And we have this real problem, that flame demon. I just don't know what to do about it. set myself up and fought real hard to get rid of 2 of them, got rid of a 3rd one, but this one I just can't seem to figure out an attack that's going to work on it, and I don't know that I'm going to have cards that'll do it. I could just get lucky on an attack. That's what happened with the 3rd one, really. And we took out the Drake, and maybe I should get a poison counter on him. That makes that shield a little bit weaker. It still deflects 2 points of damage, though, which is pretty damn potent. And it's not looking pleasant. The only bright side was he wasn't able to do much damage because Tinker was able to heal himself. He actually took the damage on that one. Okay. And Craghart now has a full deck, but now Tinker is going to be resting. I think he wants to do the full rest to get those cards back. It's not absolutely certain, but also to be able to choose cards. In some cases that's important. It always is important for her, which is why this is so huge. Well, it's always important until she expends her recovery card. Poison was kind of a cool thing anyway. We managed to finish that thing off. I was going to push it in and stun it. Trap, which would have been kind of cool too. Used the magic potion to get a green mana, which didn't actually get expended. And the only real problem is we haven't busted through another door now. She maybe could have gone through this door to get him a couple of to get the Tinker a couple of check marks, but knowing that there's a treasure there, we kind of want to do that. So we're going to go for that. With the winged boots, she can jump the trap, thereby not causing a serious problem. And we really are interested in treasures, because if they're schematics or diagrams for the items, those are really hard to get. I'm finding them the kind of hardest thing to gain here, and I really would like to spend my money on items. I'm finding improving cards just not that good, having those items available. If I switch character classes because I'm, someone being forced into retirement, then I'm going to want to try another character. And if that's the case, well, then the card improvements to characters is not going to help. Alright. Weaver jumps into the room and finds herself using this. Actually didn't even use her jumping boots. Hey, maybe I have to get out. Finds herself with a card that would have been a good combat card in certain circumstances, but the enemies are just not positioned well enough. I've got one more movement, but I don't think I can put myself in a place where I can get a line of sight, at least the way that I'm reading the line of sight rules. So let's say I stand here. I could do 1, 2, 3, 4, but then I can draw from anywhere. Yeah, that actually will go through there. No, that means I get an extra attack, but I face the retaliation. Might be worth it. Alternatives would be to get closer to that thing and hit it, but I think instead I'm going to do this and launch the attack. I forgot you can draw your line from anywhere in your hex to anywhere in the opponent's hex, and that gives you a line of sight. So I think it's worth taking that retaliation, because I'm at full hits right now. Never got herself into an ugly position by being here and took so many attacks. I really wanted, this is the point where you want the invisibility cloak and whatever. There was no way to recover that, though. Yeah, there's also, she has a spell, a card that allows her to avoid damage on certain things. Well, that also was not in her hand at the time. She jumped through, found too much to handle, and was knocked out or killed or whatever you want to say. In this, it's knocked out without doing much, and this is a serious problem. The reason, no more cards left, so she couldn't discard to avoid damage. So that kind of hosed her. And now it's 2 characters facing these. 4 more Drakes. That's not going to be enough to win this. That's half of it. They're going to have to go in another room after this. I don't think we're going to win this scenario, but we might get the treasure chest. Down 1 character, I'm not sure how easily we're going to have clearing out even just these 5, which of course isn't going to be enough Drakes to complete the scenario. We blew some heavy cards here. Oops. These guys should be like this. I looked through them. That's why they're upside down. And put them down right. Craghart jumped through things, destroying the traps, because that was his special card, and blasted much of his attack capability on this. Drew cards back using his potion. The Tinker mainly just stuns some critters, and you don't see the effects of that stun in play, which is kind of these stupid rending drakes healed themselves and kind of defended themselves, so they weren't great targets. So instead I aimed at pretty much the spitting drakes, but I didn't manage to kill them. They're fairly big critters. The only kind of small critter in terms of total hit points is the Flame Demon, and he has all that shielding, so he wasn't in a terribly easy position to be killed. However, I was able to stun him. That was my major target, and take his big effect out of play, although this has a wound on it. But I think, see, here's the thing. I think the wound associates with the attack. It's not always clear from the cards immediately, but I think that's going to be the case there. There's kind of this special case, description of what goes with which attacks and whatever, and it's probably covered in the rules, although I don't know, there's a lot of errata in this game. Most of it comes from the scenario books, though. So I think that it associates with the attack card, but it's just kind of a, hey, try to use common sense where things are, but I have no idea. Without looking it up, I have an idea. I'm not certain of my ideas. But in general, I try to use common sense. I think this would say wound self if it was indeed a wound that it took on its own. Like this says, strengthen self. Okay, and so the monsters didn't get much of a turn here. We had a quick jump with this, which was just a prep type thing. Didn't get to attack at all. And then the others, well, they're going to get some reshuffles, which are of course a pain in the ass because the decks are so small that I got to go through this whole die rolling rigmarole. Hey, I mean, it doesn't take longer than shuffling a larger deck with things looking awfully desperate. The Cragheart decided, well, actually both characters decided to kind of go all in. And this is going to be kind of problematic because his cards are probably not sufficient to handle the situation. That Cragheart left things in. He drew a double attack that wiped something out. Notably, though, he failed to kill the Flame Demon. That's the hard thing. He had an attack 3 that managed to target everything. And he increased that to an attack 5 with his card, so he just kind of exploded all over everybody. Really hefty hit. Got his green mana back up. He's got cards that charge that up in this deck, and he just did a ton of damage. One thing that I like about my reshuffling, as soon as one of those reshuffle cards comes up, is that sometimes you get down to where most of the deck is very predictable. So I'm pretty sure that there were 3 2x cards in here. So he had a really good chance of just, drawing one of them at any point. But as soon as the reshuffle one comes out, and there's also the blank in there, and they both have to be in there anytime you're drawing, the way I do things, it meant that there's some chance that I'm not facing that huge onslaught that I think I'm going to get because of the deck position. This is something that normally doesn't happen with a large deck like this, especially. Normally you're sitting on enough of your deck that when the reshuffle comes up, you still have a lot of randomness in there, but some of the times you're able to predict it. And I just don't like that. Some of the times this card is a lot better than others because of some mechanism that has no real basis in reality. It's just this kind of, it's like a die roll, but because somehow the idea of the predictability of these kind of effects just really disturbs me, and so I'm a lot happier when it randomizes more, even though there's a little bit of a cost in terms of effort on that. Anyway, like I said, we both went hard, which means we also went with fast actions. I gotta figure out what he's gonna do with his, because this was his planned attack, but that's beginning to look a lot less, and a possible follow-up, that's beginning to look a lot less valid as an attack. So I'm thinking more of maybe this, get the poison on that thing, but that doesn't kill both critters. However, I don't think I have enough oomph to go through another room. And I just killed 3 more of these. So we're down to 5. I've been able to use both attacks anyway, because one of them was a melee attack that I have nothing that extends it. So instead of that, I used the big attack, and I got kind of lucky, not terribly, but I didn't draw a bad card, managed to kill out the fire drake. That means the Bending Drake got to go. I got very lucky there. It drew the, hey, doesn't do any damage, but it still does a wound, which fucking sucks, because that's going to be my heal, isn't going to do much when it goes off. However, we have, very likely, we're going to be able to clear this room. That brings to mind something that really disturbs me about this game, which I guess wouldn't be the case if you play it with the sort of permadeath type thing. Which is, although the game's obviously not designed and balanced for that, which is that it behooves me to take a shot at the next room. The whole game is always edge of the knife stuff anyway. I might succeed at taking out another room and finishing off enough to succeed in the scenario, or whatever, and if that room's weak, I might be able to get into the next room even, and kill one drake, and that just ends it, and we escape somehow, even though there's lots of monsters around. But the problem with that to me is, hey, we're weakened, we're in no shape to go forward, this guy's passed out, and presumably, we can't afford to all get wiped out or we'll be eaten, in a regular role-playing game. He might be okay, stabilized and not dying, but if we all fail, it's horrible, right? However, the we all fail solution, which we've already faced once, is one which, in most role-playing games you try to avoid tremendously. And this isn't a matter of, oh, well, one kind of game does it this way and one does it the other. No, there's most games prior to sort of the Eurification of some of these designs tried very hard to be representative. Here, some of the decisions, like, cards instead of energy and actions and stuff like that, all that kind of stuff, well, all that makes it easier to say, well, maybe you just escape or something. It's all hand-waving and smoke and mirrors anyway, so fuck it. There's no need to be representative in anything. And it just starts eating away at the suspension of disbelief portion that I feel absolutely vital to my enjoyment of a non-abstract game. I refuse to say that I spent whatever the fuck I spent on this thing for a giant abstract puzzle. That's not acceptable. So then what it has to be is, yeah, it does not meet the requirements for this kind of game. What the fuck is this doing here? This must be supposed to be on the bottom. I just didn't pick it up. Anyway. Obviously, the thing just doesn't hit on all cylinders for me at all. It's nowhere near a well-rated game, much less one that I would rate at the top of the scale of even this kind of game. So, Tinker threw off a healing, actually. What? Oh, he threw off a healing with his movement, which allowed him to loot, and he did an attack which was successful at wiping out the last of the critters, which is great. And that means we've made it through the next move. And here we're at that position where, do we push on or not? Now, theoretically, since we haven't finished the scenario, we can walk around and do something we can't do when we finish the scenario, which is loot all the stuff, which we should, of course, be able to do. The stuff being a few bucks lying around. But that's a nice little booby prize. I'm not going to do that. I want to see if I can score through the scenario, because I don't know, one way or another, I think I'm getting pretty close to my end on this, and collecting a few extra treasure points, and then having to go through this same scenario again, that will probably completely break me. Quite possibly, if I have to do the same scenario again, that is just the end of the line for me. I'm going to take a break no matter what, but the question is, do I come back to this? The game is highly disappointing. However, everybody's got to take a long rest at this point, or might as well take a long rest since there's no threats in play, and then find their way to prepare to go through the nearest door, which I think they'll go through this one because the smaller the amount of monsters that they're facing, the better it is. If they're not facing 4 drakes, well, they may get it to where a one-shot can end the scenario for them, even though there'll be other monsters on the board. Whatever. Mention what I found. It was actually a treasure, an actual item. Now this doesn't make sense to me in the sense that all these scales that I found, this would make sense that now I could create these, but no, this doesn't give me a pattern. Instead it gives me the actual item. For some reason these drakes had a pair of dragon scales boots. They don't do much. You're unaffected by difficult and hazardous terrain. Something that I tended to see because of the way it's represented. All the stuff is visually appealing and looks like something, but you really have to kind of look it up in the book rather than just recognize what it is. There's no indicator on the counters that shows what they are. And the fact that they're double-sided counters with different appearance, probably similar things, those are exactly the same on both sides, means that, you know, a means of providing that information that would be easier was not taken by putting it on the other side of the counter or whatever. I'm not really griping about that terribly much. It's just, it explains why I get the mess. The scenario book doesn't call out. It calls out traps and stuff like that, but it doesn't call out, hey, boulder, barrier, you know, object, or whatever the fuck they're called. I don't know what they're called, but thing that you can't move through versus difficult terrain, which is like the water was. Obviously, my brain started worrying, well, that doesn't really make sense, and I looked it up there, but I may have made that error in other things, like bushes and stuff may have been difficult terrain instead of things that you could throw somebody through. In fact, I'm pretty sure they are. Anyway. We've done our rest, and we're ready to start moving towards our possible doom, which we almost certainly wouldn't do in a realistic situation. We would come back and probably face less monsters next time, but no, that's not how this works. We don't have a chance to rest. Not only does the place entirely refill, but also there is no harm in the system by continuing on. And the system's not designed to be, it's not designed with an eye on being realistic in that sense, which means that the scenarios are rather balanced so that you have a decent shot of winning, maybe, if you go through them all at once and take your crack at it. But if you don't do it that way, if you try to play realistically, I would probably be banging my head against the wall in this scenario again and again and again, because there's just too much to do. So unless you're risking death, you're not going to finish the scenario. That adds to the tension thing. That's great for a one-shot. Doesn't really work in a campaign where you're expecting to live. And this whole game is about being a campaign, as far as I'm concerned. That's what its selling point is. That's where it's different from like Mage Knight or some other card-based, you know, puzzle solving, how do you handle your hand that you have right now and optimize it the best you can. The hand sizes are so small. Craghart ran up to the door but didn't go into it. He's going to have a rest coming up. He's mostly healed. Tinker was able to throw some magic at him, etc. I mean, mostly. He's over half. Tinker has another move before he's forced to take a rest. He may want to take it now, but I don't know. See, here's where the problem lies. Is if I take my rest right now, I'm further back, but I don't want to be going. I don't want to be taking my rest after the door's been open, particularly. So, if I don't take my rest now, if Craghart goes, you know, maybe passes a turn or whatever, he's throwing away cards the same as I am by taking my rest now. So, it doesn't make much difference. I think both players want to take their rest, even though he has enough cards to keep going. Excited because, you know, after everything, and my cards are kind of low. Yay! This is my first move into the room. it was an Aldrich's room. That's great. And it looked to me like, hey, there's 4 of them. That's exactly how many I need. No such luck. One of them's doesn't get played in this number of players. So I'm going to have to make it to another room and hold off again. But I've got a pretty good chance of taking this out. I think we'll see. And the fact that we have no cards left, basically, and probably can't make it into another room, I'm feeling pretty good about this. Craghart charged in, slammed into some, did quite a bit of damage. He didn't kill anything, but you can see there's a lot of hits there. And then some of those hits were coming off of what were melee attacks, basically, against him. So he was able to get his retaliation bonus there. The problem is I don't have enough oomph to get to that next room. I don't know what that's supposed to represent. Why we can't rest and finish up, finish up the rest of the thing. Why we're so tired. It just doesn't fit the heroic, appeal. Now, I understand the gameplay mechanism and making it a little tougher and all that, but damn it, man, it kills me that you can't take an hour rest or whatever outside the cave before, just come completely out and come back in or whatever, recuperate some of your cards back. I don't know. Anyway, this is an interesting attack. We've seen this before. It is attack, then a move, then an attack. And that wasn't necessarily a good thing, again, because of the retaliations, and that is a melee critter. The reason I'm not too unhappy, we have an attack that actually is fairly high power, has range, will get some XP, and fits the pattern perfectly. You almost never manage, even with those little 3 things, to get all 3 characters with it. We indeed got lucky enough, blasted everything out of the way. Faced with the same choice, we're going to have to keep going. We have 1 more card play each, then a long rest, and Craghart has like 1 more card play. And probably he does too. Maybe we can kill the monster. Otherwise, we just pass out and, then we're all fine. And we go back up to the surface and everything's fine. And we're in the same place that we would be if we withdrew from here. In every way, the same place. We get the same benefits, or we fail to get some of the same benefits. But yeah, it really pisses me off and just doesn't work. Another thing that bugs me about this game, since we're ranting about that kind of crap, is it's a game with lots and lots of little levers. I don't mind there being lots and lots of little levers if they do kind of predictable things, but when the levers involve things like selecting which cards in my randomizer deck show up, that's kind of like the CDG type shit. That really disturbs me. I don't know that I mind the selection of cards for this that much, but I don't know that it's terribly exciting either. I don't feel like the fact that I have to know what cards are going to be available later. Yes, I can look at them and try to see what kind of synergies I can get. The fact that I'm not necessarily sure about some other things, that makes some difficulty there. I feel like there should be a little bit more flexibility in a normal role-playing game. If you fuck something like that up and you take, the wrong spell or the wrong skill, it's not that bad. You can go back and fix it. No, I don't mean by cheating and saying, oh, I didn't do it that way. But it's usually not a matter of this, okay, I have this really fixed progression where, going back, it's going to hurt me somehow. Now, maybe I'm looking at the wrong RPGs, because if I recall, when D&D started adding skills and stuff like that were special things, yeah, you started getting those. Yeah, you get one every 4 level or something. So if you pick the wrong thing there, you do get really hurt. So that may be the same kind of mechanism as this. I'm used to more ones where you invest in something, and if it's not working well, then you turn and invest in a different skill. You stop chasing after that thing that wasn't working, and it may set you back a little bit, but it doesn't fuck you up where you can't get to sort of that powerful path that you eventually see. Which, in a game of discovery, it's a bad idea if mistakes are going to cost you too much. And this is definitely, to me, a game of discovery. That's what the campaign's all about and everything. The fact that you're only supposed to play it once definitely puts it in that place. Therefore, those mistakes being painful, oh, that's very disturbing. Craighart went in with one hell of an attack. His big attack 4, he used his axe. He's going to hit both of them. First one he swung at, he pulls a double. He actually pulled 2 doubles because he's using this. And hey, scenario will be over this time. We won. It doesn't matter, whether or not the monsters that we exposed or whatever would kill us. We won. I really hate the way these things end because it's like, yeah, we've got hordes of monsters now. Now, I think we actually might be conceivably in pretty good shape because he might kill that second one too. The weird thing is, instead of going and killing a monster or something like that, there's no reason for the Tinkerer to do that. What the Tinkerer is going to do is he's going to go run and grab some gold because scenario's over. This isn't a matter of abstraction. This is a matter of falsification. Sometimes some of your endgame cards might make it important for you to play out the last monster. I don't see any point to it. It doesn't make a difference if he dies or not. Trapped in this room as the Tinkerer is running away picking up coins, it just doesn't matter. Like I said, pisses me off, pisses the hell out of me. Can these things be overlooked when you're playing it with other people? Yeah, maybe, but so can the game relying more on dice and luck than, and it's not like there's not a decent amount of luck here. So the big thing this adds that may be positive is sort of the campaign framework, and it just doesn't do a good enough job on that to make up for what it has. I don't know. I've got post-scenario stuff to deal out, but let's read what the conclusion is for this. We're going to be getting crap off this, like water breathing. Waves of red scaled lizards seem unending, but you have harvested a significant number to make a calculated retreat. Yeah, how do I get out of there? I don't have the cards anymore. I can't move anymore. I'm going to pass out. At the mouth of, if I can't fight, well, how can I get out? Or, why can't, I don't know. At the mouth of the cave, you break into a full sprint. No, I don't have any energy. And the drakes don't seem too interested in pursuing you. You begin the strenuous task of lugging the hides back. Yeah, that's the other thing. I'm carrying enough hides that it's a strenuous task to carry them home. Hale silently takes the bloody mass of scales from you when you arrive and then disappears for a good 2 hours. When she returns, she holds a handful of small blue balls. Okay. They had to put orbs because they couldn't call them balls. Can't say blue balls, right? Okay, so all you need to do is lodge one of these in your throat. And when you go underwater, it should filter your inhaling and exhaling of the water. It'll be incredibly painful, and you'll have a beast of time getting them back out when you get to dry land. I don't envy you at all, but it should get the job done. Now, this opens up 2 more numbers. I don't think these are actually available. I think that this is saying now you can access those. Hale grins from ear to ear. I'm very happy with the result, actually. Thanks for providing an interesting challenge. You weren't here. And we get the water breathing ability, plus some experience and crap like that. And I'm planning on doing a coin game next. It'll be a little while before I get it to the table. I don't know if I'm returning to this. This is really frustrating me, but the advantage to it is I can play it down here pretty quietly without pissing my wife off. And the problem with it, of course, is it takes me a week to get through a scenario because I don't want to fucking play it. When I was talking about the levers, I know I forgot to say something, and now I'm up here, and it's like, I'm not going to go back down the stairs. The thing with the levers that I was trying to express was, yeah, there's a lot of little levers you can play with in the game, all over the place, tactically and then at other levels as well, in terms of making your character better. All those little levers are kind of a frustration, but I don't mind games with lots of little things you can tinker with and tweak when all those things are well grounded in reality. But when it's a matter of, hey, I want to pick this card I want to alternate this card because it changes my randomization, or something along those lines, or choosing certain cards so that your discards, the cards that you actually get to destroy or remove from your hand for the rest of the scenario change a little bit. There's a lot of that kind of thinking going on in here, and to me that kind of stuff, because it's not grounded, it's not like I got one fireball to fire off during this scenario and I will hold it until I need it. It's not that kind of thinking, it's not that kind of lever. It's this weird kind of thing that doesn't really correspond to anything that makes any sense to me, and that's where the problem is, the thinking. It's like part of the reason I don't like Sorcerers. The thinking is kind of not well grounded in what I would see as a consistent and understandable reality. Now, it has its own reality, and so does this, but at least Sorcerers is one that you can kind of map out, and it's fairly simple. This one, I don't know what you'd come up with it's like looking at CDGs. What does it mean that I'm discarding the Lusitania this turn, or that I'm trashing that card? What does it mean that that card's no longer in the deck? What are all the effects? And you're just trying to grasp something that is like, okay, so when I actually take an action in one of those real games, it's going to have permutations of consequences I don't understand, but it shouldn't be this calculable set of them that I could understand but can't link to reality. It's the opposite. They're uncalculable, and they can be linked directly to reality. You can see what the path from A to B is after you do it and after you see the effects, but you couldn't have predicted them. Here you've got some predictive and calculative capacity, and I just fucking hate that. And that's what I hate with Paths of Glory too, but this takes it to a higher level of that.